Welcome to this episode of the Diaspora Lounge. Thank you for joining us to talk about abandoning their parents, people abandoning their parents, and we're asking whether Gen Z is a terror. Lots of people are talking about this. Without much further ado, let's just get into the studio, and I'm going to bring in everyone else who's here with me. Thank you again for joining. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Okay. So, hi, Tony. Hello, Bishop. Good evening. We're
Good evening, Uzo. I don't know. Sorry, Uzo. I don't know if it's me. I want to confirm with Bishop as well, but I'm having difficulty
hearing me.
hearing you.
Hearing me?
And when I do, it seems like you're too fast.
Yeah,
Almost
exactly.
yeah. So there's a problem with
Same
the
here.
audio, I think. Yes.
Same here. I thought she was actually modulating her voice for us not to.
Oh no. Oh my God.
There is a problem. You sound like those robots that you fast forward and they go, they just keep
I, I
going.
thought I thought it was because we are discussing Gen Z.
Gen Z that I'm moving. I'm being jet faced. Huh? Is this something like way?
No,
Is better?
there's a problem with the audio. There's a problem with the audio. Yes.
Slow it down.
It's not me.
It's
I'm not
fast.
controlling it.
Okay, now you're better.
All right. So let's just get into it. I won't start. I'm not going to do any intro. I'm going to let you go first. Tony, do you want to go first, please?
So the topic today really is about, never mind how it's coined, it's really about parenthood and what we're doing in raising the crop of young people that we have today, and whether or not we're getting it right. And if we are getting it wrong, how can we, as parents, do better? Um, Generally, my assessment, especially because what you see out there on social media, when you go out, the people you interact with and all mirror the society, right? So the small segments of people you interact with on social media, as well as the people you have course to interact with in the course of your daily life, whether it's at work, whether it's some social gathering, they mirror society. And from what I can see, um, and this is more obvious when you go to social media, places like Facebook, Twitter, and you listen in on conversations, and you hear or see the kind of remarks and comments that people make, you can't but feel that there is something wrong. You can't but feel that there's something wrong in how maybe us as parents, because this goes both ways, have raised our children, our young ones, or maybe it's also the kids themselves that are not, um, you know, following the lead or the guidance of the parents. So whichever way you look at it, something, in my opinion,
Something is very wrong.
is wrong, um, and it's crying for attention. It's crying for a resolution, and I think this is what this topic is supposed to help us get at, how we can do better as parents in raising well-rounded kids. Because if it is true that what we have out there is a mirror of society, then we are really not doing a great job, as it were, with the current crop of young people. And again, I don't want to, single out a particular um, generation, right? Even though the topic says Gen Zs, this can go way back to even previous generations. There have been gaps, I think, in the way and manner that us parents have raised our kids, which is reflected in society today, and how poorly the kids show up in social settings. So this would be my introduction, and we will dive deeper into this later with more concrete
Bishop, go ahead.
examples.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We want to thank God for yet another opportunity to sit together and to rub minds on how we are bringing up the next generation. As you will all know, I'm coming from the perspective of African culture and the Bible. Um, Scripture said that when you bring up the children in the fear and in the admonition of the Lord, when they grow up, they will not depart from it. So a lot have to do with what we as parents are doing or have done or should be doing. And it makes me laugh when I hear people think that any particular generation is worse than any other one. There's nothing new under the sun. Whatever we see has always been and will continue to be. So my cardinal approach to this conversation is to focus on parenting much more than what the generations we are discussing is doing, because in social sciences we are taught that the family is the first building block of society. So when you get it right with the family, it spills over to society and spills across over to the state, which is governance. So and we cannot overemphasize it. The family is crucial. Let me stop here.
Well, thank you very much. It's almost as if we had a conversation about it before we started, but we didn't, right? Because I am so happy that you've mentioned what I was going to say as well as my own intro, because I don't think it's about Gen Z. I think it's about all of us. I think that it started before us. And okay,
Mhm.
actually, the first thing that I wanted to really say is that what I've come to now as an adult is that no one is coming to save me. No one is coming to save me.
Yes.
No matter what is happening with me, what I have to do is rather look at whoever I think is not behaving or doing what I believe that should doing. What is my own role in that situation?
We're still having problems with your voice.
Yes, Uzo, I think our listeners will find it difficult
Uh,
following. Do you want to take a
okay,
moment to
let me go
rectify
out.
that
Maybe when I
issue?
go out and come back, maybe it'll be different.
But you're okay. You're okay right now, though.
It was okay. Okay. Let me even see. Let me
Right
hear
now,
what
yeah.
the listeners are. Let me see what it's sounding like. Please tell me in the comments. Anyone who is listening, can you let me know what I sound like to you? Let me see if I'll see anyone give me a comment to see what it sounds like out there, because it might be sounding different. Hmm.
It's not only sounding funny, it also
Yeah.
seizes. So maybe you want to go
Okay,
out and
I'll
come
do that.
back in
Yeah.
as you initially proposed.
All right. We're still here, so
Yes, AK said it's like static and robotic. I agree.
All right. So am I still sounding like an alien? Oh,
Perfect.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Enough time
You
wasted.
sound
All right.
perfect
Thank you.
now.
That's great. All right. So as I was saying, no one is coming to save me is what I've realized. So in everything where I find myself dealing with another human being or other human beings, I've got to now look at my own role in it. What
Yes.
can I do? What have I done? What have I contributed to us getting to the results that we're getting? Since I cannot control what the next person is doing, and it's only my own part that I can control. And so I said to myself with the topic, we are the same people who will talk about our parents. Our parents did this, they did that, they did that. Our elders did this, they did that. And now we're turning around to talk about Gen Z. We're talking about our children. They're doing this, they're doing that, right?
Mhm.
So does that mean that we don't have a role in this? So what is our own role? So one of the things that I would say, as you have pointed out, gentlemen, is parenting. Now all of us are parents, right? So and if we really look at it, we will see that we're not even doing great with our with the way we're running our relationships and families, right? Because we can see that we are the ones who have so many broken relationships, so many broken marriages. We're still the ones, and that's why we have these conversations. And if you really want to look at it, you will see that we don't even have we're not thinking, we're not stopping to think, and that includes myself, you, all of us. We're not really thinking, we're just doing things like we're on automatic, like it's a remote. Because if you see my post for the past 1 week or so on Facebook, like I've gotten to the point where I'm like, why do we keep sharing the stories? It's all these stories that don't make sense. If you're a square and you're trying to fit yourself into a round hole, why are you doing that? It doesn't make sense. We're not thinking. I can already see this thing does not fit me, does not suit me. Why am I doing it? So it's like we have to now take responsibility. And if we see, like Tony, you said, if was it you? No, I don't. I think I'm now mixing things up. When the parenting is not balanced, whatever you're going to get or what you're going to put into that family is not going to is going to show out. It's going to show itself. And so let's now go back to ourselves. What are we doing? What have we been doing wrong? And what are we now going to do better? Yeah.
Okay. I think I'd like to share personal um, experiences with my own kids. And maybe that would show, I mean, our experiences might be different, but I want to believe that some of the things that we do, the things we get right and the
Mhm.
things we get wrong, there are also segments of society, who do the same thing, and maybe we can learn from one another. Um,
Sorry about that.
okay, so one of the things that you had shared earlier, Uzo, I think this was from a previous conversation that you had on this issue. You did read um, comments from young people, and some of them, for me, were very, very heartbreaking. Some young people saying they never want to talk to their parents. They can't wait to be of age and to leave home, and never talk to their parents because of the constant, um, in the words of some of them, bullying. Somebody said it was her first day at work and she had come late, and her father gave her the lashing of a lifetime. And she knew that it was wrong of her to have come late, but she was trying to take baby steps, and she did not need the father to come and rain all these insults on her and tell her how She's set up to be a failure and all of that. On her very first day at work, she expected the father to help her, and guide her baby steps on this new adventure, new journey that she was embarking upon. And for that reason, she was very, very angry at her dad. And a lot of other comments that you read out in that particular discussion were very heartbreaking for me. And I could see myself in some of those parents because I remember one time I had just come into the kids' room. And at the time, it almost seemed like anytime I go into their room, it's to see something wrong and say, why is this like this? Why is this like that? Right? So I entered the room, I'm like, so why did you keep this there? For example, why did you keep my daughter says, okay, we've done this, or you would look for the next thing to say, almost like my default is to find something that they're doing wrong and harp on that thing. And the moment she said that, I didn't realize that I was doing that, right? But the moment she said it, it sunk in that, oh my God, instead of, you know, positive reinforcements for the times that they do stuff right, I forget all about that. And what I am hyping and focusing on are the things that they do wrong. And I realized in that instant that this is the wrong approach to raising these kids or even to try to build a relationship. Because if they see me as that father whose only concern are the things that they do wrong, they would grow resenting me just the same way the kids in the commentaries that you read, the same way they felt about their parents. And it took me that incident for me to have a reset and a rethink about my parenting model. And from that time, I mean, I've always considered myself a hands on dad, like present in the lives of my children. And I have tried the best I can to set the right examples for them. But I did not realize that I was doing this particular thing. And so that instant with my daughter was a moment for me to, take a step back and reset how I was going to be engaging going forward. And so when I see them do anything good, I am so quick to praise them for those things that they do right and give them a hug and say this is, so that the moments when they do something wrong, I say it to them, but in a more loving, respectful, mutually, respectful way. That way, they don't always remember me as the dad who is happy on the things that they do wrong, because they remember that more often than not, I am praising them, positively reinforcing the things that they do right. So I see that that may be the mistake that a lot of parents are making, so much so that the kids have very few moments when they think back at their relationship with their parents. They have very few moments where they can say, this man actually loves me, cares about me, and gives me my flowers when I do the right thing, as against always constantly picking out the things that I do
Yeah.
wrong. This is just
Yeah.
one
Okay.
example.
I,
This is
I
just
also
one
actually had
example.
that.
Yes.
I can even hear right now my daughter saying it's as if all you just want to do is just come and see something to talk about. I also had that as well. Isn't it possible, like going back now, isn't it possible that one of the reasons why a lot of us may fall into that may be because we're under pressure? You're under pressure, you know that you love these children, and you don't take the time to talk about those positive things because you're under pressure with so many other things. And one of them again is in this is the generation that wants to marry the people that they fall in love with at first sight. I must go back to that, right? Because that is an issue. So we create these relationships. To start with, once your relationship as a husband and wife has issues, your bandwidth is very tight and very short because you're spending a lot of time thinking about your problems, isn't it? You're spending a lot of time thinking about problems
No,
when there is still
I,
life to live.
I was going to say that before we get to that level, let's finish with the intro as Tony has brought it up.
Okay.
Because I tend to view it with a caveat. I see the point, but can I introduce a caveat?
Please.
All right. First of all,
Go ahead.
yes,
Go
first of
ahead,
all, from
Bishop.
the angle of me and my own parents, and then me and my own children. And by the grace of God, my last son is about 22. I mean, 2021, yes. My first child is 32. So I think I have the privilege of
Experience.
experience, yes. Now, I remember that I went to Boston. I was in Boston, Massachusetts, and I wanted to buy a pair of shoes, Brooks. The color we wear as bishops is the wine color. So I entered into a shoe shop and I picked one, very beautiful looking Brooks, solid. And they told me it was, I think, $65. As soon as they mentioned that price, the first thing that came to my mind was, if my mother sees me buying a pair of shoes for $65, what would she say? I'm talking about at my age. These are real issues. Then you can see from that image I'm painting that her being there, insisting, no, this is not right. No, you can't go that way. No, you have younger ones coming after you. You have responsibilities. Yes, so you have nobody to support you. You therefore must be a lot more careful about what you do with yourself. Always blaming me for every wrong decision. It has sunk into me that whether I'm lying down or walking down the road or eating in my house or trying to buy something, I have this thing hanging over my life. And what it has cost. Another incident was that I have an elder brother who is much more intelligent than I am, well, by school reports and life. And one day I was sitting with my mom, and they said they had just finished school start. This was around 1970 or 71. And that they went on an evening out, and police arrested them. I was sitting with my mother, and my mother started crying. I said, Mom, what is wrong with police arresting somebody? They just want them to explain what happened. She said it's a lie, that they're just trying to encourage her, that she saw that they were caught in armed robbery, not even stealing, armed robbery. I said, how did you get this story into your head? I mean, imagine how old I was around 1970, and I'm having this conversation with my mother. So how did it get into your head that they were caught in armed robbery? She said I should not try to encourage her, that she knows what has happened, and that this is a boy he has invested all his life as the one that will carry his younger ones along. I saw the pain in her face, and I made up my mind from that day that I will never in my life be on the wrong side of the law. And I have never been. All through my life. If you see me talk to any police officer, you will think that I'm a commissioner of police or something higher safe. But it comes from making sure that I can never be a subject of any conversation in a police station. All of these things are happening because, like the Bible teaches, when you spare the rod, you spoil the child. One of the problems of this generation is that we are pampering our children too much by my own message to the world. You don't love this your children more than God loves them. And God teaches in the Bible that thy rod and thy staff are for my comfort. The rod is discipline and the staff is guidance. You must combine the two. I happen to have been invited by BBC to do a talk on parenting, whether corporal punishment should be continued or not, from BBC World Service. And I maintain that we in Africa, we insist on disciplining a child, and that children that are disciplined grow up much more balanced. In that discipline is love, is not hatred. My friend who retired almost as a bank managing director, in fact, when we were doing national service, he used to tell me that his mother hates him. In our youth service in Benin, she said he is sure his mother hates him. And I was like, why do you think so? It was when the mother died and we went for the burial that I saw Kola my friend, crying because he realizes now that his mother was so determined that this boy must end up well, which is what is guiding his life today. Now, let me come to my own children. I went for I always go for my children's school events. So one day my children were in primary school and I appeared in the day that they were giving out, what do you call it? Awards. Prizes, yes.
Prizes.
My first son saw me and ran up to the podium. And I was just sitting. What did he go there to do? What made you get up from your seat and just ran up to the podium? And he was there and they were giving prizes and he wasn't not giving any prize. So later, I found out that he was under pressure to make his dad happy. This boy I'm telling you today has come out a star. Lives on his own in New York, works in a very big firm in New York, is doing very well, very, very well. And being his father, I know that if not for the environment he grew up, he wouldn't have wound up like this. Oh yes, I know.
Bishop, may I ask
That's
you
why
a
we're here.
question? Because I see you're towing the spare the rod, spoil the child
Yes.
line. And I mean this literally, not, I mean this like,
There's
not
there's a place for
figuratively,
discipline,
but
yes.
literally. Yes. Yes. I mean, I am an advocate for discipline, but a lot of this commentaries that we see coming from young people, as some were read out by Uzo in that chart that I referenced earlier, it would appear that that stance, spare the rod, spoil the
Was what
child
created those problems.
stance, is driving
That rhetoric,
a
yes.
wedge between parents and their children. So if that is the case, do you think there is still a strong case today, given what we know about social sciences, about development, and all of that? Do you think there's still a place for the, never mind that in other advanced societies, some of the things we consider discipline are actually termed
Yes.
abuse there. You referenced Africa. You were
Specific,
very
yes.
careful in your
Yes.
choice of word. You think that in Africa, we should still continue that culture of, when children are wrong, get a cane and beat them. Do you think, given
The
these
responses.
stories that are coming out and the fact that this model seems to be driving kids farther from their parents, do you think there's still a place for this model of parenting today?
I will answer with well, I don't know. Does Uzo have something to say before I answer?
No.
Okay. Um, Before this meeting started, I sent Uzo a clip where three young girls were using their internet service provider, and their mom went and turned it off. And they actually premeditated murder and carried knives and went after their mom, who ran away. They were chasing her down the road on the streets
Yeah, because she cut off the internet.
because she cut off the internet service.
Right.
And their grandmother, who came out wondering what was happening, they pushed her down, stepped all over her hit her with a peg or something like that. Now, I am bringing out all this to say that the problem is the removal of discipline that we have in Africa.
Okay, now I want to talk.
Yes, it is the fact that we are overloving these children. We are being too careful because people in our age bracket, we celebrate our parents in spite of how harsh they were.
Aha.
We saw in their harshness love. My father desires, if not for my father and mother's insistence, I could have been a great footballer.
Hmm.
But in my time, once you play, they say, you see, we have
Okay,
always
but
known that
why
you're
don't
going to
we
be
look at it this
useless.
way? Why don't see? I think that there should be a place for balance. There should be a place for
No,
balance.
no, hold on. Why don't you allow me to finish?
Yes, let's hear Bishop
So,
Uzo.
because of continuous prodding, I didn't take football seriously.
They beat the skills out of you.
Well, the skills were there, but it didn't matter. I had to focus on something else. I had to
Hmm.
focus. Look, I have several stories of my life. As I'm talking to you, when I get to the village, I have just started building a house in the village, not because I need it extraordinarily, but because there is a name I am trying to protect. Why? Because you are brought up in a certain way. And whether we like it or not, parenting seems to be succeeding in Africa more than the West.
Okay, Bishop,
Let me stop there.
why don't we? No, we have to do this because things aren't always black and white, and we all know that, right? I don't think that we can say yes. I think we just need to find a middle ground because in your home, right? And all of us are different. Even in the home when you're bringing up the children, there are some that you can give this type of discipline in this way, and it matches with who that person is. The very, 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 very same type of discipline, you give it to the other one, right? Because the fact is this: we are not human beings aren't objects. Human beings aren't objects. So we also still need to be customized sometimes, right? Sometimes in a home, it can work for everybody. But if you find out that you have a child who has a certain type of temperament, then you can make some type of adjustment to the way that you're approaching that child without still spoiling the child and without still being extremely harsh. But one thing that I do know about life is that the balance is key in everything. And I take to heart that I should be at peace with all men. I take that to heart. So if I'm dealing with you, I just deal with you, first of all, as all men, whoever you are, whether you're my child or whoever you are. In what I'm doing with you, am I doing my best? It doesn't now matter whether at the end of the day you are thinking that it's too harsh or it's too soft, right?
That's a very
So
good point.
yeah, so am I doing my best at all times? Because you can even do that thing that you think is quite nice and kind, and that
And it
person
turns,
thinks, and that person now takes you for granted.
yes,
Or you can be doing the right thing by guiding the person with tough love, and the person now decides to detest
to
you,
work with
and,
it.
right? So it's original. Yeah, it goes back to original thinking. To be present in mind in everything that we're doing in our approach,
You
and
see, Uzo, hold on. You're trying to make conclusions. Can you allow the conversation to develop? We're
okay,
developing the thoughts,
I
the
didn't mean to. Okay,
angles.
all right. If I can just add one more thing, I
Okay.
think
Okay.
that in a situation of parenting, parents and children, that is a situation where you have a leader and the followers.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that you have a relationship with another human being and you are leading, when there is failure in what is going on there, then you as the leader, you have to look at what you're doing, don't you? You have to look at what you're doing. So even those children that took the that tried to kill that wanted to kill their mother because of the Wi-Fi and all that, it is not possible that she doesn't have a role to play in how those children turned out that
Oh,
way.
certainly. In fact, certainly. Of course, it's her fault.
Well, we cannot
It's,
say entirely.
I am
Not
assuring you that
entirely. You know why?
if you check the history of that family, eh,
Yes.
somewhere along the line, you
Yes.
will see where something went wrong.
Definitely something would have gone wrong.
There were no boundaries
Okay.
at some point.
You just took that word out of my mouth.
There were no boundaries
Yes.
at
Right.
some point. Yeah,
And
there
she
were
may
no
have felt she
boundaries
was
at
being
some
loving.
point, because if there were clear boundaries, you mean you can set boundaries. Even as adults, we
Mhm,
set boundaries in our
mhm,
relationships with each other. It doesn't mean we do not love
Exactly.
each other or one
Exactly.
mhm.
another, right? It's the same thing. It's more so with the kids because I mean, it's a parent-child dynamic. There also has to be
Yes.
boundaries. Um, I may not be an advocate for the physical
Discipline.
form of discipline. Like, my dad was barely at home. He was out working most of the time. And the only time I remember him physically beating me, um, I thought he was merited. I did something that I should not have done, and I thought he was merited. My mom, on the other hand, um,
Bishop.
boys, I played football,
I'm here.
and I was doing. When Bishop was talking, I was laughing because that was my story. I could have been Ronaldo or Messi today.
Oh,
I was doing
look at
so
it.
well in school, but I
Look at
loved
it.
football too. And every time I would hide and go and play football with my brother, and my mom would catch us. She would flog us for playing as though we
It
were
was a
no
bad thing you're
future
doing.
ambition. NFA. They used to call people who play football then NFA, no future
Exactly.
ambition. You know,
Exactly.
while I know that my parents loved me,
Of
that
course.
part, I did not think it was fair. I did not think it was fair of my mother to have beat me the way she did, especially because I wasn't doing anything wrong. Number one, I was doing well in my studies. I was not leaving my homework to go and play football. I was doing very well. I was an A student in my young years and, carried that on till later years. My only crime was that I loved to play football. I mean, I don't blame her for going that route because that was as far as she knew in terms of how to guide me. But that action, I resent her for it, for that action.
I'm sorry.
I know that she
Sorry.
loved me. And because I know that that action was not merited, I would not do the same thing to my own
Okay.
children.
I was going to
I would
say
not
that.
do the same thing to my own children. I mean, I get the place of discipline, guidance, and all of that.
It's not just about
Mm.
discipline. It's not just about discipline. Can we be honest? Is it because footballers are paid well today? Those children who took to football with me, there's none of them that is as focused as I am. Thanks, thanks to the hardness of my parents. I didn't like it. In fact, scripture says that nobody that is being disciplined likes it when it is happening.
Where does the scripture say that?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm seriously asking
I will find
because
it. Don't
I
worry.
find that statement actually, I find this true. I find it odd for myself. I find it odd. Seriously.
You what?
So
You
I
can
want to
quarrel.
know.
We are talking about Bible here. You can quarrel with. You can.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm trying to say I don't recall seeing that because that's talking about people hating accountability. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, there are
Yeah.
people who
I
don't
want to
like
know
to
where
be
it
held
is. I want to
accountable.
know where it
Don't worry.
is.
I'll find it. I'll find it and I'll send it. Not now. I'll find it and I'll send
Yeah,
it to you.
right.
That's no. In fact, Scripture says that any child that does not have discipline is like a person without a city without walls.
Okay, can
It's
can
like
I say this, Bishop Tony, please? We can all agree that parents are human beings. Let's start there, right? Parents are human beings, and what this means is that and human beings are not infallible.
Fine, that's the
And
point I was
yeah,
going to make. Good.
and just
Go
because
ahead.
you are a parent does not automatically gift you with sound thinking. How about
no,
that?
no. That's
How
not
about that?
even. That is right, but that's not what we are discussing.
No, it
Because
is what
nobody.
we're
But,
this
but
is part
Bishop,
of what we're discussing.
it is
Because
Bishop, because
yes,
when I gave the example of my parents beating me and all, you said it's not just about discipline, and then you cited the friends like you who
Who
were
took to?
into football.
Hmm?
None of them came out the way you did. That's for me. That is the presumption that the way you came out is the way that a child should come out. And that presumption is also the presumption of our parents because they believe that this is the way a child should go. And I think that's where what Uzo said is very, very important because the fact that I'm a parent and I feel that this thing will be good
mm-hmm,
for my child, it may be the place of, from my own experience, but who
mm-hmm.
says if the way my parents did it with me, who says that is the right way? And who says that's the way I must do it with my own kids? That Bishop, I'll let you speak because I know you're itching to speak. There are things they do in my kids' school today. During at one point, I fought with the parents in the WhatsApp group because they wanted classes to start at 7 a.m. I'm like, hell no. There's a place for sleep. There's a place for play.
And those are parents as well.
There's a place for
Those people
sleep.
are
There's a
parents.
place for other parents were saying early, the earlier the better. During our days, during our days, during our days, during our days. This was what they were saying, and I was like, no. The best schools in the world today. I did the research. I think Denmark. I think that's the place. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check that. They do not start school as early. They start later than everyone else because there's a place for sleep. And then there's also a place for play. While we were growing up, our parents did not, or a lot of people did not see the importance of that. Their own would be early risers and all of that. And then during another point of quarrel, during you say you have midterm break, and you are loading them with uh,
Assignments.
assignment upon assignment. Where is the break? And then other parents will say, yes, during our time, that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. But no. So our parents
The
may
mind
have
was not actually the
our
mind was not actually idle.
our parents may have chosen that path and decided to guide us on that path
Parents aren't
because
always
based
right.
on their own exposure, based on their own experience, they thought that was the best way for us to go. It doesn't mean it was
Yeah.
actually the best way.
Well,
We have the
yeah.
benefit of information, and
Uh-huh.
we know that there's something about being a rounded human being.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about
Okay.
the academics. It's not just about that. There's something to be said for the socialization part, which is where having friends
Nurture.
and all of that comes in. There's something to be said
Mhm.
for the physical side, the sporting side. There's something to be said for play, just play as a child. All of
Mhm.
those things are what forms a rounded individuals. I'm only saying
Yep.
all of this to say that this is just to buttress what Uzo said earlier, that the fact that my parents saw that this was the way to go doesn't mean that they were necessarily right. Their
Yeah. Yeah.
intentions might have been right, but the way they
Exactly.
went about it, these things are not cast in stone. It's not all black and white. So holding on to this is the way they did it for me is a sure way for failing with our kids today because we have to take the lessons from how they did. I just told
It's
you
continuous
mine.
improvement.
My mother loved me, but that part of her beating me, I don't like it. I will not do the same. So the things that were, it's like eating fish. You don't take it, swallow the bone. You take the fish, you remove the bone. That's how I think parenting should be. Unfortunately, a lot of us seem to be stuck on the way it was back then, which is why I have a problem because parents are not always right 100% of the time. I
Parents
will
aren't
stop here
always
for
right.
now, but there's something I would like to say later about ownership because one of the biggest problems I think, and this is a problem in conversations offline with Uzo, I have said this. One of the biggest problems in relationships, and that also goes for relationship between parents and their children, is because we think we own another person. A child is a
Mhm.
different person from
It's a
Okay.
us,
human
but
being.
we think we own and
Right.
we can
Okay.
control outcomes. But I will end here for now so that other people
I,
can speak.
I,
Yes.
apart from stopping here, I think we should leave the ownership. Let's come to it because
Mhm.
we are still building up. There's a whole lot to discuss on parenting, a whole lot. Now, I have heard you out, but again, I have a caveat because society in 2025 is different from society in 1970.
Yep.
Knowledge has increased so much, and
Mhm.
the generations coming up seem to be abreast with information tech than our aging parents. Now, it wasn't like that before. Before, what we depended on the experiences our parents had to guide us through life. So there needs to be some form of adaptation to new realities, evolving new realities. One. Then point number two is that I want us to take notice that when we say discipline, it's not like every child that misbehaves, you give him three lashes of the cane. Pa, pa, pa. If you don't do it that way, it's not discipline. No. The meaning of discipline is in every child's own peculiar tendencies. You know what is appropriate to apply per time.
Mhm.
which means that you are involved in the child's life, which is why I said, let's leave the issue of ownership for now. Because if I am involved in your life, I am feeding you, I am housing you, I am clothing you, I am paying your fees. It is
Ah,
my responsibility to give your life a direction for now. And you
right.
say, I don't have ownership rights. When we get to that one, we'll face it. But for now, where we are is that I want us to take note that discipline means that every child has a peculiar way that you can address them to get the result you want. Another example, my fourth child and third son is exactly like me. He played
Mm.
football. I thought he was going to be a great footballer. He veered off football. I didn't put my mouth inside it. He went into basketball. I was thinking you do well in basketball. Now he went into music. And then at a point in time, his name is Daniel. Danny said to me that he has decided to be a musician and that that is a career he has chosen. I knew that the devil was trying to put me to test, but but I saw it clearly as it was coming. So I said to him, Danny, beautiful, you want to be a musician? Yes, now there are very good musicians, like, what are their names? I don't know those boys. The short one. Anyway, the two short
Whiskey,
boys.
whiskey,
Those I
Davido.
don't. Sorry, I'm not particularly current, so I don't know their names. I don't know what they do. So I said, Daniel, I'm aware that those boys are very rich, so you can then go and make money. Go ahead, be the musician you want to be. Go and make the money and bring it. You can see that we are struggling to pay school fees. So you can make the money, then we can use the money to finish paying school fees for your brothers. Just go ahead. You're welcome. I noticed that my answer was suspicious too. So, to just like a magic, after some months, he just went into this music thing. Oh, we were with so and so great musician. We were so and so club, nightclub, this and that. Pastor's son. So one day, Daniel just came back and said to me, Daddy, I know you very well. You want me to be the black sheep in the family. I have decided to go to school. Even if I'm going to be a musician, when I finish school, I will come back to music. I said, why? How did you arrive at that? Go ahead and do your music. It was him now that was pushing that he must finish his academics first. It wasn't me. Because as far as I'm concerned, he simply wanted me to say, never, I can never be a musician. So you can have something to hold on to.
Okay. So how do we? So we
So
want to
it's
what? Go on.
approach.
Sorry.
The point I am making is just
Uh-huh.
approach. People are different.
Uh-huh. All right. So okay. Now, if we're having a problem, like I mentioned before, I'm saying that if you're leading people and something goes wrong, then something goes wrong in that relationship. Then something has gone wrong with both parties, of course. But because you are leading now, you now take responsibility, and ask yourself, especially when we're talking about parenting and children, because you're actually older. And yes, I know
Yeah, more experience.
I already mentioned that just because I say it all the time that parenting does not require you to present a certificate or a license before you are granted the opportunity to become a parent. It's open for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So it's
Mm-hmm.
also open for people who do not have the capacity for rational thinking, right?
And patience, yes.
Yes, and a lot of things. So now parents are human beings, so we have to know that uh, I might have parents who are not capable, So I need to just keep that in mind when I am dealing with them. Since I think I am so reasonable, I need to also think about my parents. Who are they? Who are these people? What are their experiences? What is their life experience? What do they know about life? So that when they are dealing with me in a certain way, I understand that okay, this person's limitation, this is where this person's limited knowledge ends, right? And that way, I can know he definitely knows what he's doing. She definitely knows what he's doing. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing, and then I can approach it that way. So the same thing for us with looking at the Gen Z and talking about parents. This conversation is not for everybody because we will be dreaming if we're thinking that, oh, we'll just have a conversation where we say, take note of this, is this, and because of that, we solve the world's problem. We
Never,
can't, right?
yes.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is because nobody has the full knowledge or not everybody has that knowledge, as with many things, the way that we go to learn to become a doctor, to become a lawyer and all that, we really need to acquire skills for these things because I may not have it. I may not have it. So we need to go out now to acquire skills. And one of the things that we have to understand now is that, as Tony said, children are human beings of their own, right? So, in order for me to have a balanced relationship with another human being, I have to be open to being human. And that is being vulnerable enough to show that I really don't know everything. So, I need to bring you to a place where we have conversations, right? Instead of me now taking the space of, I know better than you, come, this is it. If I even say something to you and I say that you don't like it as a child, why don't I have a meeting with you? Which is what I was suggesting in that other one. Why don't we should start having meetings, right? We should not think it's too much to have meetings with our young ones, where we say, okay, this thing that I was suggesting that you should do this way and that way. What is the reason why you don't want to? Here are my reasons for saying that you should do it. Right? Do we think that's too much? Is that too much for us to do with our children?
Not at all.
Because if we care
Communication.
about the relationship,
No,
Communication
not
is
that it is too
important.
much. Not that it is too much, but again, caveats. Not that it is too much, but the whole house will not be turned into a conference center at every point.
no, we can have set days for meetings. It can be once a month. And we know
Okay.
that we're having this meeting because we want to, because it's like a company running a company. If you don't have meetings to check, okay, where are we making mistakes? Am I carrying everybody along? People are going to be disgruntled and we're not going to know. And then
And
tomorrow
then,
they will say that like those
okay.
ones, they're turning their back. Because what I had to say to those people, I was like, why don't you say to your parents, can we have a meeting? And then they said, oh, a
Anyway,
lot of them were like, their parents will never be open to having any kind of conversation.
we're dealing with Gen Zs, right? What age is this Gen Z, by the way?
Sorry, let me read from the comment section. Someone storyteller says some kids might take that for granted. This is talking about the
The
meetings
meetings.
Uzo was mentioning now.
Advancing.
We'll come to that. AK said, and this is about the issue of ownership. She said, taking care of and guiding a child as a parent, that's responsibility. That's been accountable for the choice or decision to
Exactly.
participate in bringing a
Exactly.
human being into the world, not ownership. Not ownership. I think it's a very important point. But I would say what I meant about ownership in a bit. But let me go to Meg. Explore with Meg. Said, oh, she says, I will continue to say it. Most Gen Z and Gen Alpha are selfish. It is always about themselves. Don't forget that this was how the topic started, from
Yes.
commentaries about young people saying that they don't want to have anything to do with their parents, and we were thinking what might have happened to have led these young ones to take these drastic decisions to alienate themselves from their parents. Is there something in the parenting model, the parenting style, that is driving a wedge between
Yeah.
us and our kids that we need to look at, talk about, and see how we can change so that rather than drive our kids away from us, we can sort of improve the relationship in a way
Yeah.
that they are better and we are happy at the same time. So this is actually
Conversation.
the conversation. What can we do?
The
And is it even
conversation.
true in the first place? Is it even true, as Meg said? Is it true that this generation, and she was specific, she says Gen Z and Gen Alpha are selfish? It is always about themselves. The story that was shared in the platform, this was what the author was also
Suggesting.
implying, yes,
Yeah.
that this generation of young people are too selfish. They're always thinking about
But there's
themselves.
a reason.
If this
Still
is
back
true,
to
is this
us.
true first and foremost?
Mhm.
If this is true, then why do we think it is? Just to steer us back in
On
Yeah.
course.
the conversation.
I think that it is true, but we are not exonerated completely. We are not exonerated completely. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind is, like Bishop said, parenting today in 2025 is not the same as it was in 1970. There are all sorts of clowns on the internet who are dishing out advice. We know this, right? And there are forums where these young people, you cannot control everything that they're doing. You're not going to be able to control the people that they're talking with in school. You're not going to be able to control everything that they see online. You're not going to be able to control. There are forums where people go into and they have conversations. And you have people who are coming from sick backgrounds, who maybe did not have any boundaries set for them at home. And they get upset every time their parents tell them, try to guide them. And then they come there and meet with children who are coming from decent homes, and then
Mm-hmm.
they keep on, the more you hear something, the more you slowly you begin to acclimatize with
Appreciate.
the things that you're
Appreciate
hearing.
the
Yeah,
challenge is serious.
with the things that you're hearing, you slowly you begin to to think that maybe there is truth in this thing. So our parents are toxic, negative people, right? And so when they keep hearing those things from those people who are coming from homes where they actually do not have those rational thinking parents, those children can begin to slowly, they say bad company corrupts good morals, and it is true, isn't it? Right? So,
Of course,
yeah,
because
so we, so,
what they call toxicity self. What does the word toxic mean? That
and
somebody is telling you to make
another
your
thing,
bed, that somebody is telling you to eat like a normal person, put your
that's why
cutlery
you have those
together.
meetings. You
Is
tell
that
me
being
why you think
toxic?
making your bed is wrong. You tell me why you think. Another thing is that even we the parents of the generation, we are not even taking care of, capable of taking care of ourselves. I've seen many times, because, like, I keep on posting every day. Why do you come as a human being and try to force something that doesn't make sense, right? And then the love at first sight people and all those things. If you cannot take sensible decisions for yourself, your child is going to notice it, and they're going to not have confidence in your guidance. They're going to notice the nonsense that is going on in their environment at home. Why would I listen to you when you can't even make sound decisions? So it comes back to us as well. So I would go home as a parent and go and be looking at myself when my child is doing certain things. And I've done this. Introspection is important. Why is this child behaving this way? Why are you speaking to me in this way? Then we have a meeting. I want you to tell me, what do you find that I do? Because if you don't tell me, I may be thinking what I'm doing is normal. But if you point it out to me, like Tony said that day, he just realized, oh, I am always doing this. My child can also point things out to me. And then at that point, I can apologize. So are we able to be human beings and accept that we're not infallible? Can we be humble enough, modest enough to let our children know that I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I
Yeah.
don't know
I have a
everything.
question also. Question. Can I ask a
Only thing it
question?
might lead to
Yeah.
disrespect from the child.
Yes. Go ahead, Bishop.
I don't know if I should ask it because I hope.
We're,
But
we're,
my
we're having
question.
a conversation, Bishop. Nothing is
Okay.
off the table.
Okay. Um, in a normal life situation, whether in the military service or in school or in society, there is a leader and there are followers. Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Yes.
Yes.
When we bring it into the family setting, is there a leader and some followers in that setting too? Just a
Yes. It's
question.
no
I'm not
difference.
taking a position.
It's. I don't think it's any different.
Okay. Now, what type of relationship should a leader and a follower in a family setting have? Maybe if we approach it like this, it can help us capture a lot of the salient points that are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I hear you, Bishop, on the issue of leadership. But then there's also the question, what kind of leader do you want to
Mm-hmm.
be? Because
Okay, okay, who is in
leadership
a
is not
position?
basically,
No, no,
leadership
hold
is
on.
not, yes.
No, hold on, Tony, before you go further. What qualifies anybody who has just finished using diaper and is struggling with learning how to stand
Mm-hmm.
to question the kind of leadership over him?
Okay.
At
Can I
what
answer
point?
that?
At what point does a child begin to question the kind of leadership he has?
Okay, also, I'll let you go first and then I'll
Please,
come.
yes.
Yes. So here is the thing I would say. Yeah. The truth is that you already know if you are one of those, hopefully, as a parent, if you're one of those people with sound rational thinking, you already know that. I know that in this thing, let's assume in this particular thing, because maybe it's something to do with driving, maybe something to do with
Mhm,
education. So I know
mhm,
for sure that I know what I'm saying more than this child knows. But that child does
mhm.
not know.
That you know.
That child is assuming that let me go and argue this thing. For a good leader, I will say a good leader, because see, relationships, it's really up to you what you want with your relationship. If that relationship matters to you, same thing with every relationship. This is what happens in our relationships. There are people that I can be relating with, and I can see that I haven't done anything wrong, but they seem to be upset with me. But I may not care. I can't give two rat's tails. I'm not interested in solving it. Be upset all you want. But when I care, I'm going to come back to you. What's the matter? So it depends on what value I place on that relationship. I come back to you. What is the matter? Because I want us to be on um, the same playing field, right? I want us to understand. So because I care about this relationship, so I want to nurture it. So I'm taking that extra care, right? And as somebody said in this, that it can lead to disrespect. Here is the truth.
Yes.
Going back to what Tony said, I have come to a place in life where I see human beings as human beings. You know why? Because you can be my father, you can be my brother, but it does not mean that we are going to be able to get along. We need to understand it. You know why? Previously, when people would tell me issues with siblings, I'll be like, we have to solve it. We have to solve it. Oh, no, 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 we cannot have this, you know? But there are people, because of their understanding of life, their brain wiring, their experiences, somebody can just see you as your brother, and they're your biggest enemy in life. Do you know that it happens with parents and children as well? So
Of course, it
your
does.
duty
That also what you're creating is anomalous.
is what?
Anomalous.
What's that? What does that mean?
It's saying it's an anomaly, like it's not
Yes,
normal.
it's an anomaly, but because it happens to
Because
people
we
that
are
we don't
saying
know,
we are discussing family life, eh?
right?
We are discussing leadership. We are discussing unity in the midst of diversity.
Right.
This child may be a sanguine, this child may be a choleric, this child
Good
may
one.
be,
Uh-huh.
aha. Now, there is that diversity. In fact, I hear that the meaning of the word university is united in diversity.
What I no what please can you explain that? Do you understand what the point is, Tony?
Um, I want to say, I heard what Bishop said before about leadership, about unity, and all of that. And I agree, you know. But then the question I asked, that I think you answered in part, is what kind of leader do you want to be? Because
Mm-hmm.
then again, um, whereas some people view leadership as I know it all, I set the pace for whatever reason, maybe because of age, because of experience, and there is no room for you know
Negotiation.
for negotiations, for not necessarily even negotiation, for other people to air
Contrary
their views and
opinion.
have input,
Mm.
contrary
In,
opinions, and all of that. Some people see leadership as somebody in front,
Authoritarian.
the one who knows the way, and every other person follows like sheep. Whereas my view of leadership, and this brings me to what I think my role as a parent is. Um, Before I talk about that, thinking back to the topic and why some subset of people feel, especially the older generation, feel that this particular generation are selfish and are about themselves, and why they are um, in their numbers alienating themselves from their parents because of their parenting style. I will link the two things. First, I think the reason why we have that problem, I think there is actually that problem between parents and the youngsters today. And I think it's because of legacy and what legacy means to most of the older generation. So, for the older generation, for a lot of people, legacy is me going a particular way because for whatever reason, whether my father showed me
Because you
or
learned
this
that.
is the way things are done in our family, in our tribe, we want that same thing in our children. We want our children to continue, whether or not they are disposed to that kind of life, whether they are built for that kind of life or not. We just want that for them. So in put it in another way, we want to live our lives through our children, whereas our children are not duty bound to live life like we would want it for them to live.
You want to be God in their
These,
life.
these, I think, is at the roots of a lot of those problems, those commentaries that you read out that day. I feel this. For me, legacy is different. As a matter of fact, I don't care about what um, name or this or that. My legacy that I would want to leave is that Tony lived a joyous, happy life. Shikena. I don't want anything else. I don't want my children to be like me.
it
I do not
depends
want
on
my
what
children to be like me. I
it
don't want
depends on what
if they
depends on
if
what
they
Tony means by joy.
if they want to be like me, let them follow their path. Find the path that gives them happiness, that gives them fulfillment. That for me would be success as a parent. I would not cuckoo be here to even know what they are doing. When I'm gone, I'm gone. Right? So I don't really care so much about legacy in the term that a lot of older folks view legacy. And legacy, the way a lot of older folks view it, is tied to the idea that I was trying to talk about earlier of ownership, where we feel that we own another human being because we were part of the people that brought them into this world. And then we talk about, oh, do they pay rent? I feed them, I clothe them, I do this, I do that. Because of that, they have to fall in line. The question is, did this child ask to be born? And I think, like AK said, whatever it is we're doing for our kids in terms of guidance and all of that, that is being responsible. That is not ownership. We don't own them. We cross the line when we refuse to see their individuality and we think that because we are older, because we are wiser, supposedly, because we understand the ways of the world, as if there's a manual that is supposed to be foolproof and all of that for navigating life, and we know this manual, as if we ourselves are not even trying to find our way in life. We now feel that we can dictate for another human being how their life should go. I feel what I owe my children is love. To love them. They did not ask to be born. So all of those things that I do out of love and responsibility, like AK said. Out of love and responsibility, not because I own them, out of love and responsibility. The other thing I think I need to do is model things for them. So I am not saying one thing and doing another thing, right? So as much as possible, I am modeling things for them. I said it at the last during the last chat that we had. How many of us will come and would say things in public and then back in our private lives, we are monsters to our wives, monsters to our children, but then we are workers in church. We're workers in church. We're doing all of the great things, and people outside think we're great. What sort of example are we actually setting? You know, if we're talking about examples here. So I owe them love. I owe them integrity in the way that I live, because what I say, I model it, I live it. And the last thing I think is forgiveness, because they are bound to make mistakes, right? The same way I can make mistake as well. And so forgiveness. And I do not believe that as an adult, I have a monopoly of knowledge and understanding. Very many times my kids correct me. Very many times they correct me. My son will tell me, there was a time I just entered the room and I went off at my son. My daughter said, but he did not do that thing. I was the one who, immediately I went to my son and I apologized. It took my daughter for me to see my wrong. So, but a lot of us parents think we cannot be wrong and we cannot apologize. And like someone said, I think it was AK also that said so, that is actually toxicity. Bishop, we're talking about toxicity the other time. If you are wrong and you don't have the humility to apologize to your child, that is being toxic to your child, right? So I see, like Uzo said, communication as a two-way street. The way I would, with other people, dialogue and all of that.
You know something?
Yes,
You know something? One of the things that I also, please tell me, I don't know, maybe it's in 2 weeks or in a month or in 2 months, you can tell me if you observe this. What I have come to see and I've adopted for myself is, see, the way that I relate with you, Tony, the way that I relate with you is the way that I would relate with even my child or my mother. And I think that there's a universal language
I agree,
for human
absolutely.
relationships.
Absolutely.
There's a universal language for human relationships. And it is simply this: be fair and just in your dealings with people. Right? And do you know what? When you're doing that, whoever you're dealing with notices it. They know. They know, and they understand that this person is someone who always says it, does the best and says the best that they can. They're not going to be partial, they're not going to maltreat me. So when they get to know that this is who you are, right? Then it does so many things. The second part is that when we go outside and we are tough with other people when they misbehave with us, and then we come home and my child begins to
And you're
misbehave.
soft.
Yes, that's a problem. So we need to adopt that
Oh,
universal language, right? Because if I'm treating my child, when my child is doing something wrong and I'm treating my child knows that I'm going to address it the way I would address it when Susan down the road does it. My child is going to sit up, really. But when they get used to me allowing them, giving them passes for things, guess what? I'm also teaching them nonsense because they go out there and instead of standing up for themselves, because it's like running. Everything you do, you need to develop the muscle for it. You need to do it over time, and it becomes part of you. When they go outside, that's why we have all these people that I keep talking about, the square pegs trying to fit into round holes. You go outside, somebody is doing something wrong, and you begin to choose who you are going to stand up to and who you are not going to stand up to, who you are going to tell, don't do that to me, and who you are going to allow to get away with it. Then you will say it is love at first sight, or I love them. I love them, therefore they can now
hey,
trample on me.
who's
No,
on
no,
love
no,
at first sight?
I have to keep on because this is why people are doing it. Because people did not learn. You don't make any exceptions for people to misbehave. Also, because the parents will misbehave, right? You get used to picking and choosing who you allow to mistreat you. It is wrong.
You know,
That's why we are sick. That's why
I
we are
have a
sick.
perception. I have a perception that may be wrong. Please, people correct me.
We have a caller. Hello?
Okay.
Fine. Are you calling into the program?
Yeah, I'm just coming in. I'm just the network.
Everybody can hear you. Yeah. If you want to say, everybody can hear. Yeah, yeah.
Oh. So what? Sorry. What's the topic?
Okay, so
Sorry.
I will drop the call. I thought you were calling in to respond to what we've been saying.
Yes, Bishop. We don't want Bishop to lose his train of thought. Bishop, you were going to say something. Please
Okay,
go
can
ahead.
you listen to this, then you can respond. So, Bishop, we were saying, yeah.
In all sincerity, I think we have a mindset about parenting. I think we are addressing hard men, men who are, I don't have a word, men who are totalitarian,
No, even the
men who,
soft ones. I just talked about the soft ones. When you allow the children
can
to
you
do
allow me to
anything.
develop my thoughts? Uzo? Hey,
I am so
just allow me to
sorry.
develop my thoughts. Eh?
Okay.
It's actually a conversation, except you just want us to adopt your position. Then we'll leave it there. It's
Tony, was
actually
that
a
what I
conversation.
just did?
No, Bishop, please go ahead. Please go
Allow
ahead.
me to develop my thoughts. I am saying that in all that we have discussed, I see us as having position one group of parents, which are people who had men, you must have it my way, and then we are trying to bring them to being considerate. If you look at the sum total of how we are presented, that is what comes out. Now, you do not make a rule using exceptions. We read mathematics, normal curve, simple. Who is a normal parent? I'm not talking about those at the extremes, those who use too much love and spoil the children, and those who are too hard and spoil the children. There is a normal father and mother. And then, second point, this parenting you people are discussing, it's about a particular set of people, Gen Zs, isn't it? We are focusing on Gen Zs, but I see us discussing what affects the infants, teenagers, young adults. We're lumping it together.
No,
If
Bishop,
you
let me clarify. Bishop, may I
okay,
clarify, please? So
okay,
this started because there were those commentaries about, especially today's young people, abandoning or alienating themselves is a better word, not abandoning, from their parents because of what they considered very harsh parenting styles, right?
Okay.
Someone in
Kanishi,
the
yes.
chat group also said that this generation, maybe, looking at them, are
Are
selfish
selfish.
and thinking only about themselves. So, what we're trying to get to the bottom of in this conversation is what sort of parenting are we adopting that is making our children to feel alienated from us, or to make them selfish, as it were? What are we doing? And if you
Yes.
say we're speaking to a particular kind of parent, maybe that's as a result of the topic that we are
Okay.
discussing.
Okay, fine.
Because the
Fine.
topic is what is driving this wedge between
Alienation.
parents and the children. What are we doing that is making, and this cuts across not just for this people struggle, for the rich. The rich are actually facing this
Yeah, in fact, that
problem
one is worse.
a lot. So it's not so much that we are speaking, we're deliberately speaking to a particular sect. Of course, we're talking parenting in general, but we're starting from this question
That's not
Okay.
as
even.
the scenario that we painted. Yes.
I don't even agree with that observation. That's actually not true, because I have said several times that if you are going out and you are tough with people and you come home and you are soft with your children, I said that several times, right? I've talked about it's both things. It's if it is extreme, if it's you are too tough or you are too soft, that's what you're going
Yes.
to get, because the child that you're too soft with is going to develop that entitlement, selfishness, and all that. So if I have mentioned those things, that's what I was just trying to say when you said, because I was trying to say no, what you observed is not true. You're talking, it's not true. We've been talking about both.
Okay, so how do
Yes,
I
yes.
come?
Our caller wants to talk.
Okay.
Hello, yes.
Okay, yeah, from what I got, he's talking about parenting and the Gen Z and how egocentric these Gen Z people are, right? And I think that's what I heard,
Yes.
the conversation. Well, I have an opinion here, and my opinion is such that we have to go to the root of this problem. The first and foremost thing is that there is what they call a dark elite. A group of social engineers that are spinning things around the world. Then they are just watching from the sun. Puppeteers, I call them puppeteers, who are, creating conflict in the system and thriving from the conflict they create. Now, these puppeteers, you can say it's conspiracy theory anyway. That's what it is. They are the people who design the society, not to say. And they create devices which can make or mar humanity as it is. One device is money, for instance, cash, money, the system. If we have a system that makes people, that puts people in a rat race, everybody's going up with the money, go right round, go get a job done, do a career thing. By the time you know it, you see that there's less time for the children. There's less time for the family. Sometimes some people go out in the morning, they walk till night. By the time they come back, they're fagged out. They don't have the time to even observe their children. That's one part of what the system does. And then again, the system also creates, they have people who work with the system that create devices like cell phones and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when these parents are out of their families doing whatever work they do, these children are left, at the mercy of these devices. That brings about addiction to the devices. That also brings about the messages, the mind programming from these devices.
Variables, yes.
The mind programming and so many things are happening. And also there's a spiritual side to it. Because what you feed the mind is what that mind brings out. It's like garbage in, garbage out. And these children are fed with all sorts of things, some uncensored. And by so doing, a lot of times the parents have kind of left these children, and these devices have taken over these children. That is where the selfishness comes. If you try to take away these devices from these children, you see them revolting, they become aggressive. That's addiction. That's addiction. So you see, these things are designed by a group of people in the system who have studied humanity and who want to keep humanity under a laboratory, so like an experiment. They're just watching people, they're doing these things and they're watching humanity. And these Gen Zs, unfortunately, are deep in this thing. It's affecting them, it's causing more harm, they are becoming more selfish, and they are becoming more deadly. Because if you look at, for instance, Nigeria, the kind of crime these guys commit tells you that these guys are heartless. Those days when we were growing up, when someone's a ritual killer, these things, all these old men, and these guys are kids doing this thing, 15 years, 16, 18.
Or even the ones exposing their bodies online without a care.
Exposing their bodies online and all these kind of things, because that's what their blood has been fed.
You see them meddling with blood, things that we look at and freeze.
So these things, these devices, these social engineers have a lot to contribute to this thing. The ones who do these things. Now, also parents, because some parents, sorry, just in case, let me just round off this. Some parents might have grown up in a very harsh way. Like when I was growing up, my father was very harsh on me. And it's now I started realizing that, hey, I liked what this man did. Again, I hated it. You understand? I didn't like how he handled me, but when I grew up, I decided to, see things from two sides. He wanted to prevent me from something, but I was too young to understand. But now I have now understood it. So it says, spare the rod and spare the child. We can't, it's a carrot stick thing. These children of nowadays, we have to have a way of being a bit strict, restricting them from some of these things, putting some little restraints on these things. Because once this thing gets into them, sorry, you've lost them. That's just the reality, you've lost them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I don't know how we're going to prevent them from seeing all these things online. It
also has to do with government. For instance, the TikTok we do in Nigeria is not the same TikTok in China. So it has also to do with the system. Because our system swallows everything in Nigeria. Whatever thing is too much, everybody accepts it. Because I remember when we were growing up, I'm in the arts, I write music, I do music, I produce music, I perform music. That's what you call the censors, the censors board.
Censoring. In fact, you just took that from my mouth. Censorship.
But we have the National Films and Censors Board.
What are they?
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. We have a National Orientation Agency. What are they doing?
Exactly.
Right.
If we have a National Orientation Agency, then why are these Gen Zs destroying themselves?
Somebody was telling me something about TikTok 2 days ago about Nigeria. One guy on TikTok and girls and ladies. And nobody's saying anything about it or doing anything about it. They're allowing him to be doing that. Why?
Nobody will say anything about it
like the gentleman.
Because we need the distraction. We need the distraction.
Just like the gentleman commenting has said, self-censoring in mass communication, they taught us about censorship. Since the censoring function has been removed from communicators, we must now imbue self-censoring into ourselves.
Exactly.
When we were in the university, for Chris Okotie, who repented in my room university that time, Chris Okotie will want to go and do his I Need Someone music. The NTA board will insist that he comes with a shirt and tie, for instance. Otherwise, nobody will show his face on the screen. But now you're seeing naked people everywhere. Everywhere. Don't let me use a very bad word. Naked people everywhere.
Actually, we can.
I don't know why they think that people are interested in how naked they are.
I just lied when I said that we can't stop them. We can by having those conversations again with them, the young people, reminding them. The more you get into
as a matter of fact, I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, this conversation itself is disciplinary in nature. Discipline is not only Keno. These conversations
Exactly.
As many as are listening,
I agree with you.
they are hearing the other side to it. It's discipline.
Right. Thank you very much for that contribution. You even touched on something that, had completely forgotten about. I don't know if the gentleman has seen the sense in what he said. I agree that some people are deliberately orchestrating this thing because some people really want a life where everything is free, where just everybody's liberal and we accept everything because people do not want the discipline and accountability. Therefore, let me encourage everybody so that we can all just be doing whatever we want to do so that I can be free to do whatever I want to do.
That's what they call vibes,
Sorry,
vibes and inshallah.
sorry. Can I add to what you just said?
Yes?
Can I add to what you just said?
We need to round up this conversation.
This thing about freedom. I want to say something about this freedom thing. It is just like I said, the social engineering thing. They make you think you're free, but you're not free. If there is freedom,
Exactly.
then there shouldn't be police and there shouldn't be court system. There shouldn't be the prisons. Because if you see somebody says to you, "Oh, I just want to be free. I'm independent. I'm going to do whatever I like. I want to do whatever I like." Now, somebody likes to pick a gun and start shooting people. Then why do you have to hold him? Why do you have to arrest him? He's exercising his freedom.
Right.
And then look at the other side of it. Someone comes and says, for instance, I posted something on my wall about this social engineering thing, and then you see some level of discriminatory, moves that they make. For instance, in Africa, they say female genital mutilation is bad. It is this, it is that. They fault it. You see NGOs, WHO running up and down. What about transgenderism? Is that not mutilation? Why is nobody talking about it?
Right.
Thank you very much, sir.
So you see, these people, there's some people pushing this thing. They are pushing this and they're pushing it so hard. And they're using money to push it. And we must have to speak. All of us have to start speaking. Otherwise, all of us will be engulfed in this whole nonsense.
Hey,
That's
thank
my
you.
point.
Again,
To
You have to be very
support
careful.
your point,
Thank you so much.
to support your point, do you know that when Obama was president in America, Obama was selling this left-wing ideology to African nations,
Yes.
and it was modeled up with LGBTQ. And a lot of African nations rejected it, and they were bringing in money, looking for who they will buy. Now, it is actually this that pushed most of us in the evangelicals to look for somebody who can counter all those left-wing things that happen. That's what produced the Trump we have today. You
All
understand?
right. Okay. So thank you very much. We're gonna end the program. We're gonna end the episode now because we've gone on for a while. Thank you so much for this call and for your contribution, for reminding us of that. Um, all right. So gentlemen, thank you. I don't have anything else to say. I think I've said a lot today. I'll just let you have the last words and then we will close.
okay,
Thank you to
before we close,
everyone.
just to thank
Yes.
everyone who joined us and for the messages in the chat box. Thank you to AK, to Explore with Meg. Thank you to Storyteller. Thank you to our caller. And even those who didn't drop comments but tuned in. Thank you to everyone. So this conversations, right? They don't end here. The idea is for us to start thinking about these issues, and we will continue these conversations on other platforms. And you can also, start those conversations within your own sphere of influence. My last word would be that while there's no one size fits all approach
Situation.
to
Yes.
parenting, um, it's important that parents be parents. And by being parents, for me, I did say what is important for me: love your children, model for them, show integrity, model for them what you say. So it's not like you're just saying something and then you're doing something different. That's even confusion
Hmm.
for the kids, because kids learn from what they see us as adults do. And so if you're saying one thing and you're doing another thing, you are part of the problem, because then you're creating confusion in the minds of these children. So it's important that we show integrity, model what we preach. Let's not say one thing outside and then inside we're doing another thing. I think I'll leave it here for that. We can't finish all of the different things to be said about this topic, but we'll continue this conversation on other platforms.
Well,
Bishop, last word. Yes.
okay. For me, let me first of all thank Ozo, whose creativity and ingenuity made these conversations possible, and the tireless efforts he's been putting into this thing. There's a particular phrase that the gentleman that called in brought in, which has been at the back of my mind for a long time. It's called social engineering. Societies don't fall from heaven. It is these conversations, as we keep at it, people get to know how to build families, how to be proper parents, how to drop some of the things you're doing that may be responsible for the challenges, and how to pick up other things. It's social engineering. We should just keep at it. There is no end to it. They taught us when we were doing mass communication, if you see something, say something. Don't be afraid of being wrong. Just we'll keep talking. Let conversations continue. And I'll also want to appreciate all our audience for sparing time to hear us out. Please make contributions. Share this with as many people as possible. We are just dropping a few ideas in this ocean called parenting. There is no end to it. Two, you must be deliberate. You must be intentional in building a family that God will be delighted in. Finally, God is the master parent. Let us learn from him. God bless.
Thank you, everyone. And with that, we'll close this conversation. I wish you a good weekend, and let us go and really, really put into practice, more conversation, more communication with everyone. The more open we are and willing to accept that I don't know everything, if I've done something wrong, let me know so that I know where to change, right? So let's just be that way. Let's approach life like that. It's taking away ego and pride will do us all a whole world of good. Okay, then.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you.